Львівський муніципальний мистецький центр.
Добрий вечір усім. Вітаємо у муніципальному мистецькому центрі. І сьогодні подія приурочена початку великої підготовки до виставки, яка буде відбуватися у нас у кінці грудня і аж до кінця лютого, про вільну музику і незалежні ініціативи у цій музиці в Україні. Сьогоднішня подія є такою собі підготовчою в тематиці, і ми будемо знайомитися з Оленою, яка є працівницею арт-центру і яка є також музичною журналісткою і блогеркою. Олена буде вести розмову з Крісом. Кріс – це наш друг і товариш, який, окрім того, що є великим другом України і привозить дуже багато корисних речей для наших військовослужбовців з Франції, має основне заняття у житті. Він має свій вініловий лейбл. І хто, як не він, знає дуже багато про те, як українському гурту, чи музиканту, чи ініціативній групі людей видавати вініли. І видавати свою музику на фізичних носіях, робити її ближче до свого слухача. Отож, така суперпрофесійна розмова, але вам має бути цікаво для того, щоб розвивати свій кругозір і свої професійні навички. Розмова буде вестися англійською і бажаю всім приємного прослуховування.
So now we're switching to English. Hi everyone. Hi Chris.
Hi.
And we have a guest. His name is Kristofom Ґалесом. He's a co-founder of the label Steelwork Machine, based in Breст, France. And let's start from the beginning. How you came up with the idea of making a label, and how long it took from the idea to its realization?
Even before having the idea of making a label, I started making music when I was maybe 13 in 1992. I had my first guitar, and I started also making music on computer around 1995, when it was really rudimentary. I was using like a software which was called Fast Tracker, which was used in the demo scene and mod scene, and it was running on DOS, and you were using floppy disks and small samples of sounds, and that's when I started really making music, and I worked for years on that. And in 1998 I wanted to release my own music, so I released a cassette that I was using just a tape recorder, and I was playing my music on one cassette, then recording to another cassette, then switched to another cassette, and it was like taking ages. And I made like, I think maybe 30 or 40 of those cassettes. And then there was the revolution of the CD burner that came, and so I was then I wanted to release some CDs, but it was like super expensive at that time, and so how I was doing it is that I did not have a CD burner, so I went to friend's place and start burning CDs all the evening. And I went with a pack of beer and smoked some joints and watched some movie. And during that time we were burning CDs, and it took like half an hour to burn a complete CD. So it was like in one evening you could maybe burn like 7 or 8 CDs. So it took like ages, and that's when I started my first label, and it was only CDR. And I think I've made like 400 or 500 CDs like that. So it took a lot of evenings at friends' places. And
did you use this first label to release your own music only?
Yeah, because I had contacted some labels in that kind of music that I knew, because I was buying records from them. And they were all saying, oh, you should make your own label. You should just do everything yourself and then contact us and we do some trades or we arrange some deal or something. And that's how I started actually with my first label, and which stopped in 2002. Because in 2002 I met Serge, which is my best friend forever. And it was at the first Destination concert that I organized, and he had came from another part of France. And we got along so well that we decided I stopped that label and we start a label together. And he was making his own music also. I was making my own music, and we decided we make a label to release our records and the records, the music that we like. And that's how Steelwork Machine started in 2002. I was doing a lot of trades with all other labels, which means that I was contacting labels in Germany, England, America, in Japan, in Israel, all over the world, which were in the same kind of music that we did. And when we were sending them like 10 records, they were sending 10 records, and that's how I started a mail order. So at first it was like a really small stock because we only had one reference, then second reference and 3 references. And after that we started growing. And now we have like 1,200 different references on our website. And that's mainly because we wanted together to be completely independent from anyone saying us, you should do this, or you should do that like that, or your artwork is not good, you should do it like that. We wanted to have full control over what we were doing. And that was our main idea at the beginning.
And now, did it change? How many people are there now working at...
Still 2 persons.
Still?
Yeah,
wow.
With just 2 persons.
So you outsource the designs?
No, we don't need, because when we work with our own releases, Serge is a graphist. So he before now he doesn't work anymore like in that field, but before that he was working for animation movies. So he's kind of okay with graphic stuff. And me, I'm a sound engineer, so when we have some work to do on the sound of a record, I always take that job, like mixing or mastering. And when we work with another artist, they have like full freedom to do whatever they want. I mean, if they don't have the record mixed or mastered, I can do the job. But if they want it to do some with someone, then. And for graphic, it's like the same. They just give us the artwork and the record finished, and we release it.
But the legal side and the financial side, you also do that all?
Yeah,
yourself?
Of course, yeah. I mean, the main thing of the label is to produce the record itself, like paying for the costs for mixing, mastering, artwork, if that's needed, and of course the physical release for CD or vinyl or cassette.
But I think in Ukraine, for many people who have this dream of starting a record label, it's they cannot figure out how to build themselves into the system that exists legally. Yeah. Or
I don't know exactly how the system would work in Ukraine, but Steelwork Machine for us, it's an association, which is an organisation, non-profit organization. And so we don't have any salary and we don't make any money really from it, but all the money that we get is used to pay for the next release and then pay for buying other releases that we cannot trade, that we have to buy and have more stock in our mail order. And so it always attracts people. And I don't know if that kind of organization is possible in Ukraine, but for me it's the most efficient way of starting.
But how did the market change since you start the label in 2002?
For
the small labels, I mean.
Yeah, it's completely different now because when I started, it was mail orders, which were issuing like paper catalog, and you would choose you had like a catalog of 200 pages like this, and you would just flip through the pages and look for something new, like a new Decision Records or a new whatever album, and you just have a small description written, and then you send a check to that label, and they send you the record then. And most of those labels didn't have websites; they just had like an address, and you would send them a stamp so that they would send you the catalog. And now it completely changed, of course, because of internet. We had our first mail order online store, I think in 2004, and it was ultra rudimentary because it was like just a page with PayPal buttons, and it evolved into this now. And it changed completely. I mean, now there's Bandcamp where you can sell records, and not only digital, but you can sell physical records, which is quite a good platform. There's Discogs also where you can sell a lot of records that I use a lot. And now everyone can set up an online store like this in like 5 minutes. Yeah. So it completely changed.
But is there more competition now when everyone can set it up? Or
it's not really a competition because Bandcamp, for example, makes that literally everyone can sell his own records on Bandcamp. So it's less a competition, more like over profusion of people selling their music, but it doesn't mean it's less good. And no, I think that there's not much competition. I mean, there's like from when I started, there's like a lot of labels which have stopped their activities. I mean, I know a lot of labels. Most important, like in Sweden, Cold Meat Industry has stopped like years ago, or smaller labels. I think of Membrum Debil Propaganda in Germany, or the Eastern Front in Israel, which have stopped their activities. And so I don't think there's much competition. We are like, I mean, we all work in the same way and with the same kind of music, but there's not much competition.
But is there, so you only make physical releases?
Yeah.
Mostly vinyls, yeah. But also cassettes?
Cassettes too, yeah.
And CDs?
Yeah.
Or no CDs?
So we evolved, I mean, we started with only CD. And in 2004, we decided that we should make a vinyl for my own project, West Wind, which was Tourmente. And in 2007, we started a sub-label, which is called Steelcraft Manufactory, and which was made to release only short editions, like CDs at 100 copies. So one thing we did is that at that moment it was complicated, but I managed to find a company in America which was selling blank digipacks. So I was buying like 1,000 blank digipacks white and 1,000 blank digipacks black. And what we did was printing stickers and putting stickers on the front, on the back, and we were only pressing like the CD itself and the booklet. So, and we had like this series of maybe 20 or 25 records, which are all using that blank digipack that were customized with stickers. And it's only like series of 100 copies of these CDs. and we were still doing big series of CD, but CD started to crumble down like in 2000. I think it really stopped selling in for us, I mean, in 2012, 2013, and we were starting to make more and more vinyl. And right now it's really more vinyl for us that we sell and that we produce. But we changed again our mind in recently, like 3 or 4 years ago, and we decided, because people were still wanting some CD. So now we release vinyl, but with the same record on a CD that is slipped inside the cover. So now people, when they order a vinyl record, a 12-inch vinyl, they have the CD with it. So they can still, if they don't have a vinyl player, they can have the CD. Yeah. And if they have a vinyl player, they can just do whatever they want with the CD.
But is there a competition with the streaming platforms? So you only make physical releases, you don't make any digital releases? And did it change with the streaming platforms getting older?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, I don't have really numbers, but of course our sales have reduced with the streaming. Mm-hmm. But hopefully there's a lot of people still attached to physical release, and it's coming more and more again that even young people want to have vinyl. So it's always good that when I go to a record store to see some kids going out with the vinyl. And apart from that, I don't see much competition because I basically don't care about digital platforms. We don't, our label doesn't, we don't say to our artists to go to Spotify or whatever. My music, I don't want it at all on Spotify. It's out of question for me. But if we have a release with another band, like we did like with Lisieux or Vesperal or of course Des Injun, I mean they are all on Spotify, but that's the problem. They can deal with a company that will distribute them online. Mm-hmm. And we do the physical release, but it's the problem.
But you yourself, you don't use streaming platforms?
No.
So yeah, I think it would be nice if you took us all through the algorithm of living without using streaming platforms, both as a listener and as an artist. Like, how do you listen to music?
I listen to music, but sometimes I just find out about something on YouTube. Like I use YouTube, of course, but I don't want to start using Spotify or whatever, or the platform there is. So yeah, I listen to stuff on Bandcamp, on YouTube, and when I really dig something, I will just buy the record. Yeah.
So, now you don't buy blindly any record. You first listen on YouTube and then you buy a record, or you can just go and. That's it. I think it's only for me. It's interesting.
I used to buy records blindly back at the time when it was only on catalog, and it was just you had nothing to listen to. You can't click on the link on a paper catalog. So at the time I was buying some stuff blindly just because of the description and like it sounded good, so I would buy it. But or about magazines also. But that thing doesn't exist anymore. So now you can just click on a link and listen quickly and say, yeah, I want that one.
You mentioned Bandcamp several times, and you know about this Bandcamp case, about this scandal that a month ago some company bought out Bandcamp.
Yeah.
And so they fired half of the staff.
Yeah.
And now, me, for example, I don't get my regular emails from Bandcamp, and I'm really sad because they were great. Like, they were usually writing some editorials about lesser-known artists.
Yeah.
And so now I think the editing team is out, and everyone is a little bit scared about.
I heard about it,
happen.
but I'm waiting to see how it evolves. Yeah, because it's maybe another solution that Bandcamp would be quite interesting if someone somewhere had the idea of doing an alternative to Bandcamp. I think I would be up for it. Yeah, yeah.
But you sell more through this website.
Yeah. Bandcamp is for us quite anecdotic. Discogs is a big part of our sales, and the main part is on our website. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we have this exhibition coming up.
Yeah.
That maybe now you understand a little bit more of Ukrainian after coming here. So
yeah.
So maybe you understood some of what Ilana said about this exhibition, and it will be dedicated to grassroots initiatives and small communities, and maybe you can tell more about this. How does this help with having a record label in France, the network, building the network with small communities in other cities or other countries?
Yeah, but it's like how I started. I mean, how I started was doing a network, and I had my own music. I wanted to release it, so I contacted people everywhere that were in the same field of music. And of course, I had some people saying, "Oh, we're not interested." But I built my network throughout the years, and now I have contacts. I'm in all over Europe, in North America. I have a few contacts in South America, in East Asia, mostly Japan. I have even one contact in China who was buying me like a lot of cassettes. And I was very, very surprised the first time I got in contact with him, because he had like a tape store in near Beijing, and it was interesting to see that our cassettes were being sold in China. And that's the main thing, is basically to start having a network and being in contact with other people who are interested in that kind of music and who can sell that kind of music, or producing that kind of music, and trade, exchange. And that's basically the most efficient way of starting when you don't have much money. You can't buy records, so you trade your own records with other people.
Mm-hmm. But on the local level, for example, in Breст, is there a community around your label? And
yeah, there's quite. I mean, Breст is not a big city compared to here, but yeah, there's quite a lot of people who are gravitating around my label, and we have a record store in Breст which is called L'Oreille Cassée, where I have always my records which are being sold since, I mean, it's an old friend and he's selling my records since 2004, I think. That's almost 20 years. And there's another record store which is called Bad Seeds, where all some of my records, they sell only vinyl, so they only take my vinyl records. And that's also part of my network. And I have also other contacts in other cities that I just send them an email, like, we have a new record, can you take some? And they just take the amount of record that they need, and that's all.
So are there any other ways to reach out for an audience for you, or you just do it through like this because there are people that trust to these record stores or these other labels that can recommend your label?
Yeah.
Or no additional promotion? Or...
We don't do much promotion apart from that. I mean, we have a large base of people who buy records from us. I think we have like 6,000 or 7,000 customers on our website. So that's already quite big for us. And we always grow because of mostly people talking about us, or bands that we have their own following and bring them to us, and that's how we do it. We don't need to make much more promotion. We just, of course, we use Facebook or Instagram to promote, and that brings sometimes new people, but we don't. Apart from that, we don't do nothing much.
So what's the step-by-step process if I come to you and say, okay, I want my not industrial music at all to be released on your label? So what, do I have to have everything, just the cover?
Well, if that's not industrial music or neo-folk, we won't be interested.
Okay, then
yeah.
It'll be industrial. Okay.
Yeah, so you have at least to, and when we do a release, it's like we fall in love with the music of another person. Like when I discovered Pаліндрома and Sheeperson's music, and I felt in love with it, and so I wanted to do it. And all the other artists that we have on our label, it's like instant love for what they do, and it has to be because we are two in the label. So if I fall in love with something, Serge has to fall in love with it too, because otherwise we don't do it. It has to be like anonymous for them. And no, if someone who makes music that we like sends some stuff that we like, it's like you just have to send us the record and the artwork, and we just do the rest. And if the record is not finished, like you have to add some recordings or do some mixing, we just take care of everything. And that's the point of a label, actually. It's just taking care of everything that the artist cannot handle. And otherwise, when it's not music that we like, we would say, or if it's not industrial or neo-folk, we would just say, do it yourself. I mean, release it by yourself, and not necessarily start your own label, but anyone can self-produce its music. It's there's a lot of factories, not in Ukraine right now, but that make CD and vinyl or cassette, and it's quite easy. Some are easy to reach and get in touch with them and ask them for advices about how to do this and how to do that. But like that company in Poland that we work with, or another in France. In France, we work with La Manufacture de Vinyle, which is in Annecy, and in Poland we work with Monotype, and they are always like super efficient when we have a question for them. It's like we get an answer in like 1 hour. And that's what I would say to someone who wants to release its record. Do it yourself. Start auto-producing and start your own label and do your network, and things will go okay. Yeah, I mean it. I mean, you can always produce a cassette at 50 copies and do your own artwork. Or when I started my first cassette, it was like recorded from one another, and I was just xeroxing the artwork, like photocopy, and cutting it with a scissor and folding it myself, and it was like taking ages. And for CD, or the first CD I made, as I said, I was doing it on like in the evening, and printing the artwork with a home printer, and cutting it and putting it in a jewel box.
In Ukraine, any label works like this?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Still, yeah. Maybe there are some questions, because I have more, but maybe there are some more critical questions from the audience.
Yeah. So yeah, actually, you said that it's pretty easy. I understand, but you know, many people that want to print some vinyls and even have a budget. They think that it's a super complicated process. And so my question is how to choose a factory, and how do you find monotype, and maybe some tips, the first steps that you should do when you decide that you want to do a vinyl release.
The first step would be to have a full record. I mean, of course. And about choosing the pressing plant, I mean, I've made a lot of different pressing plants in the past, and we had some big problems with some that we decided never to work again with them. I won't name them, but it's in Czech Republic, and it's a pretty big one. And when we find out about a new pressing plant, because there are like some websites, I don't remember the name of that website, but there's a website that references most of the pressing plants all over the world. And you can have the big companies and smaller companies, and we prefer to work with smaller pressing plants, because the bigger pressing plants, they will work with major labels, and so you will always be put at the end of the line when there's like a big vinyl coming, like when Coldplay or Adele releases a new album. All the big factories are like completely stuck with that record, and they have like to make like 500,000 copies or something like that, and everyone is stuck with that. So we always go for the small pressing plants that don't work with major labels and only work with independent labels.
They are rejected orders if some major labels.
Yeah. I mean, when we approached La Manufacture de Vinyle, they said to us, we only do 300 or 500 copies, sometimes 1,000 copies. So they don't care about. They don't want to work with those labels. They are only interested in small independent labels and doing small editions and quality editions. Yeah. And how I found out about Monotype, I don't remember how I found out about them. I think I already worked with them years ago for a CD, and then we stopped really making CD, and for vinyl I just got in touch with them because they had good prices. And now they have a really good website where there's like a configurator for vinyl and cassettes and CDs, and you just have your price, and it's one of the fairest price I've seen in the market. I mean, the ones we have, the small independent company we have for pressing records, they have more or less the same prices. But for us, it's just depends on. My next record will be pressed in France, and we have another record which will be pressed in Poland. So for us, it's just like we try to work with different companies and
the same quality of vinyl.
Yeah. I know that there's a record company which in France which wanted to change the way of making vinyls, and they wanted to use algae instead of plastic. But that didn't work because the quality of the record wasn't good enough. And I know Monotype in Poland now, they do vinyl records from recycled, because when you press a vinyl record, there's always a part of the record which is cut. And so they recycled that part of vinyl, they mix it, they melt it together, and they use it to make records. So it's recycled plastic, and it's quite interesting, and it's almost the same quality as a black vinyl. But of course, if you make like transparent vinyl or some color of vinyls, you will have less quality of sound. Yeah. And picture disc is catastrophic for qualities of sound.
Picture disc is pretty kitschy.
Yeah, it's kitsch. Yeah.
Catastrophic for the taste also.
And my next question is more about distribution. So, what about sales on through the giant e-commerce like Amazon, HHV, or Juno? Is it hard to start the sales there? And is there any sense for small independent?
No, we don't sell on Amazon. We started selling on Amazon a few years ago, and they were the main problem with them is that they were forcing us to have certain shipping prices, which were absolutely not good for us, because basically when we were selling a record, we were losing money. So no more Amazon for us. But starting to sell on Amazon is super easy because you just need to create a business account, and you can sell on Amazon quite fast. I don't know about the other websites you mentioned how it works, but in France we also have CD and LP, which was quite used a lot at some point, but now it's starting to get deserted, and mostly people use Discogs to buy some records when it's about because technically it's like a huge database of records, and anyone can sell a record on this website, and so it's really easy to set up an account and sell records on that platform. But I would not encourage anyone to sell on Amazon.
And my last question is about production. Is there any profit and difference in heavyweight 180-gram vinyls in comparison with usual weight?
Sorry?
Is there any profit and difference in sound or quality of heavyweight?
Okay. Between the basic 120 grams and because the vinyl is thicker. And so the vinyl grooves will have can be more deep. They can be deeper than on 120 grams. So of course,
but it's not about industrial music.
No. It can be for industrial music, but it's more for audiophile. Yeah, but there's a big difference of sound between light and heavy vinyl. But it will only apply if you do a black vinyl. So most of the records which will be pressed in 180 grams will be black, because the sound quality of black vinyl is better. Yeah.
What's the usual edition of, like, how many numbers?
Usually for vinyl records we do 300 copies, but we have like a trick. When we do 300 copies, we ask to the factory to do 500 covers. And then if we need to do a repress, we can do 200 copies, but we will order them without covers. So we will just have to manually put all the 200 vinyls in the 200 covers, but it's like big economy in price because the cover to print is very expensive actually. So if you do 500 covers, it will be less expensive than if you do 300, then 200. Yeah. And when I ship some records, there are always some records which arrive with a folded cover or damaged cover. So we have always covers, extra covers to replace when the customer is not happy.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, it's efficient and quite economic if you have to do a repress. Yeah.
Okay.
I can ask a question about represses, actually. So, industrial music exists for quite some time.
Yeah.
Many artists, bands are dead or forgotten.
Yeah.
Yeah, and have you ever released represses of different industrial bands from, I don't know, 80s maybe?
Well, I did some repress for Desington, which wanted he wanted to re-release his full catalog on cassette, and we started also for anniversary edition to re-release The World That Summer, which is here. So these are re-released on CD and vinyl. And but apart from Desington, we didn't do any re-release from 80s or 90s records. Yeah.
I guess it's a hard process when the artist is dead.
Yeah. I mean, like there was like this a few months ago. I think that's Maria Zerfall, who was a German artist doing really heavy industrial music in the 80s and 90s, and she died, and I don't think her records will be ever re-released. Yeah, because I mean, if someone would have to be in touch with the people who are close to her, and that's always difficult to find. Yeah. But it's always difficult. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, so no more questions, I guess. No. Thank you.
You're welcome. And networking and self-producing is it's the key to make some music. I mean, to release with some music. For me, that's the main point. And always be independent.
Yeah.
I want to talk about presence in offline stores. So you have your 300 or 500 copies.
Yeah.
You sell them online through Discogs, through your website, and what about offline stores? How do you distribute them?
Offline stores. You mean?
Just stores.
Yeah, just stores. It's you can always get in touch with some distributing company. I mean, in Italy, there's Audio Globe, which is quite big and they take a lot of independent releases. There's Shiny Beast in Netherlands. And I mean, even Rough Trade in England, they can accept independent labels and records and have them distributed in their networks. And they will offer them at a wholesale price. So, of course, your price will not be the same. Because when you sell, for me, when I sell a record 20 euros to the audience, to the public, I will have a wholesale price, which will be like 13 or 14 euros. And I will have an even smaller price for those distributing company who will sell them to stores. So we can all make like a margin. But the easiest way is to contact record store and just have a deal with them. And there's like I don't do that personally, but there's the idea of consignment, where you send the record to the record store and they will pay you when it's sold. So sometimes if you sell 10 records in a month, after a month they will send you the money for 10 records. And there's also the option of when you don't sell records and then you will get nothing. And sometimes it's a good way to start to offer your records on consignment and then just ask 3 months after, did you sell some records? And if that's the case, you get some money.
But do you still distribute them like that yourself?
No, I don't do consignment.
You only work with the distributors now.
Yeah.
Do we have any distributors in Ukraine?
No, we don't have any presence of official legal vinyl selling in Ukraine, actually, because we don't have presence of major labels here, and all our vinyl stores are actually just resellers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, then it would be interesting that at some point someone starts thinking about gathering people around a distribution company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You are now for the 10th time in Ukraine, and maybe you have some feeling. Is it possible to make such kind of business?
Yeah.
Like a vinyl label here
Yeah.
on one hand, and on the other hand, I know that here are some people who still have idea to make vinyl printing here.
Yeah.
Maybe. Is it really possible to get an amount of artists here to print it here?
I think so, definitely. I mean, judging by how active your scene is, of course. I mean, someone has to do it at some point. And the main problem for Ukraine right now is that, of course, there's like this border between Ukraine and Europe, mm-hmm. which at one moment, of course, will have to disappear and have open border and no custom taxes. But for the moment, the main problem is that you don't have vinyl pressing plant. There are in Poland, there are in Czech Republic. I'm not sure there are some in Romania, but maybe, I don't know.
In Lithuania, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the main problem, is that you don't have somewhere where you can press vinyl records. I think there are some like artisanal craft cassette. But for doing vinyl records, you will always have like that custom tax thing and crossing the border thing, which always will be complicated. So at one point, if someone has the idea of doing a pressing plant in Ukraine, I think it would be would be a super good idea. Yeah.
Okay. So thank
you
you.
So much for your support and for your.
I hope one of these few people in this room will open a pressing plant.
I would love to open a pressing plant if I had the money. I mean, a pressing machine is quite expensive. Yeah. It's a new machine for pressing vinyl is around 150,000 euros. And some machines are like 200,000 euros. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's quite expensive.
Flat in the city.
Sorry? Okay.
Okay, yeah, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
I
Thank
think
you.
it was
Дякую.
useful for everyone.